because the attempt is, after we've had the success with hole 4, hole 6, 9, hole 11, the sharing towards Randy's pit, to grow this from 150 meter saprolite pit towards a known strike extent of 900 meters, where we continuously see the shear zone.
The acquisition makes a lot of sense. This is situated along the central Guyana shear zone. If you look at Founders, Miata, they're all along that shear zone.
It's one of the best areas to be in right now, so it's a no-brainer that we acquired this.
Today we're having a chat with Oscar Louzada, CEO, and Rayiez Bhoeland, VP of Exploration of Sranan Gold. Gents, great to have you on the channel again. Oscar, first a word to you. A lot of progress since the last time we spoke, both operationally and strategically.
Yes, correct. I think we had a good couple of months. We've drilled a bit over 5,500 meters so far, down in hole 27 now. But I'll let Rayiez touch on the holes and the step outs. And we acquired an extra 18,000 hectares along the central Guyana shear zone, which is very exciting.
Yeah, it sounds very exciting, and excited to dive into that new land package in just a second. Rayiez, perhaps you can give us an update on what are the recent results and how are you currently interpreting this system that we're talking about?
So the recent drill results which we received in January shows the continuation of the shear zone towards the south, towards the Randy's pit, where we see shared fabric and alteration, where we've hit mineralization, although not as wide as we've hit them in the 2025 holes. But the system extends, as we know, from the trenches to the south. For this year, we've in February, we've tried to continue drilling towards the north, where we can see, the shear zone still opening up. And we've also done some trenches in the northwestern extension, where we've at surface hit the mineralization of 82 meters at 5 grams per ton, which is from the current fences 100 meter step out. And we're seeing some good sheared fabric, some good mineralization and alteration. Because the attempt is to, after we've had the success with hole 4, hole 6, hole 6, 9, hole 11, the sharing towards Randy's pit, to grow this from 150 meter saprolite pit towards a known strike extent of 900 meters, 800 meters, where we continuously see the shear zone, multiple adjacent ones in the hanging wall, so that means to the west, some smaller ones in the footwall. And what we've also done, Stein, is since last year, we've accumulated good structural data, especially that confirms that we're still on the right path with our drilling direction and angles, but also the delineation has allowed us to kind of deconstruct and delineate what the shear movement is in this corridor, and what the geometry and the orientation of the high-grade ore chute should be. And we're developing this as we go, and we will drill test the extensions of these drill chutes to the north and also to the south. And initially we had planned 2,500 meters of drilling extra, which has grown to an additional 5,000 meters. And this is all excluding the original 5,000 that we had planned for Puketi on the other side of the river. So much more work is needed. So the opportunity is there, and the work we've done and the understanding that we've built has allowed us to properly plan this additional 5,000 to 7,500 meters that we want to do in 2026, at least at the Randy's pit.
Rayiez, that's a great overview of the recent progress, and of course you outlined that the thickness of these intercepts that you've been finding recently might not have been the same as some of your previous great results. One of the holes was 10 meters at 1.36 gram a ton, close to surface in the saprolites. In a mining scenario, you would still be very happy with that.
I'll refer back to some of the older holes. Hole 4, which had really the first 17 meters was 10.5 grams per ton. But then we also had wider intercepts. Hole 6 and hole 9 were 19 and 23 meters with grade. So the system kind of pinches and swells, as we all know from these orogenic gold systems, at depth and laterally. And we're continuously building on understanding to find the more extensional domains within the shear corridor, because it is not just one planar fabric, it's multiple stacked. And these ore chutes can be lens or cigar shaped, dipping away from you. So we're building and doing the interp as we go and adjusting the drilling, hence the increased footage that we need to be able to understand this. And we're systematically trying to build strike length to have something that, in a far future scenario could be mineable.
Yeah, excellent, Reese. Perhaps you could quickly talk about immediate next steps. Of course, you started outlining the long-term future for 2026, but what are some of the immediate catalysts an investor should expect?
We are continuously doing surface work to the north, the trenching and the drilling that we've planned because of our understanding of the ore shoots. We will also progress to the south. Once we finish off some of these trenches to the far north and south, we're getting into the territory of a kilometer and beyond of strike extent. Simultaneously, we have teams in the extension of the Puketi, and as soon as we have some more equipment on that side, we will start, of course, the drilling and also some trenching. The Puketi pit itself is a surface expression, is high-grade mining of a kilometer long, which we will drill test with the originally planned 5,000 meters. But there is open ground to the northwest, which is almost 2 to 3 kilometers, where we have geologists right now mapping and sampling, and we will continue doing surface work to expand that corridor. We have high confidence in that, and that's the immediate growth that we want to do. So we have two high grade prospects on both sides of the river that have the potential to go well beyond 1 kilometer of mineralization.
That's an incredibly exciting future for sure. Oscar, I would love to transition towards the acquisition you made recently. Really, what is the strategic rationale behind acquiring this land package right now?
About 2 months ago, we were approached by the group behind the Lawantino project. The acquisition makes a lot of sense. This is situated along the central Guyana shear zone. If you look at Founders, Miata, they're all along that shear zone, which goes all the way from French Guyana to Guyana. Took a flight over, did some samples, and they all came back with very, very good results. So we agreed with the group that we will pay them $1.9 million over 5 years, and also give them exposure in the listed company. So that was their main goal. They wanted to be part of the listed entity. So $1.9 million over 5 years and 1.8 million shares in the company. That's the deal. And then obviously we'll start working on site soonest. Initial couple of months will be about $150,000 of spend. We'll do some soils and send some teams across to start mapping and preparing it, in the hope that we can start advancing that this year or in the next couple of months even.
Excellent. And Rayiez, I would love to talk about why this land package is interesting from a geological perspective for a second.
Yes, Dane. The area, first of all, has seen decades of artisanal mining of gold in the drainages. As Oscar mentioned, we are proximal, so Antino sits to the northeast of that Guyana shear zone. We're to the southwest of it, and also Miata is proximal to that. So this central Guyana shear zone plays an essential role in late stage deformation that enriches some of these already existing fertile grounds, and the shear zone itself is not mineralized, but you want to be proximal of it, and Lawantino is well situated. Lawantino is part of these gold fields that the small scale miners used to refer to as Assisi Creek, which is the creek that branches off of the Lawa and gives you access towards Lawantino, which is long known as a high grade gold mining area in the southeastern part of the Greenstone Belt in Suriname. So the location is favorable. We have favorable host rocks and decades of gold mining. There's no better indicator than gold for gold. And we've also done recently a deep penetrating radar survey, which allows us to map out areas of high structural density. And this again we overlaid with some of the small scale mining in the drainages. We did a flyover where we sampled again a shear zone, a fault fill vein, 4 grams per ton in a contact zone between a granite and basalts. So we have proof of in situ orogenic style mineralization. We see the truncation of the central Guyana shear zone, which confirms our geology interpretation that it is a late structure that late reactivated structure that causes mineralization to intensify in some of these prospects. So it's one of the best areas to be in right now. So it's a no-brainer that we acquired this.
Thank you for taking us along there, Rayiez. Really appreciate that. Sounds like a very interesting land package, and like you outlined, very close to the famous Founders Metals, who are, of course, a $400 million company on the stock exchange currently. Gents, you are both in Vancouver. What is going on the corporate side there?
Rayiez and I are doing our North American tour. We started in Toronto last week, just basically saying hi to our existing shareholders and some other banks that might start looking at us with a view to maybe picking it up in the next couple of months or weeks in terms of research and basically doing the rounds, saying hi to people. Back to the Netherlands next week, and then off to England, doing exactly the same to our English investors.
Sounds great. Excellent. I would love to very quickly touch base on the late filing of the financial statement situation. Oscar, what's the current progress there? Should we expect this situation to resolve quickly?
Yes, yeah, we should. We sent out an announcement 2 weeks ago, close to 2 weeks ago, that we're 80% done. There will be another announcement coming out on Wednesday, which will show further progress. Yeah, it's a shame that it had that we had to ask for an extension, but we asked for a 30-day extension, which was granted, and we're not the only one with a year end around September. So yeah, it's taking a bit longer than expected.
All right, well understood. I would very quickly like to touch base on the situation of your war chest. Of course, you're very busy drilling, your Tapanahoni project, Buketi and Randy's Pit, also this recent acquisition. How's the war chest looking, and how far should it bring us?
It looked, end of January, it still looked very healthy. Nothing much has changed in the last 30 days or so. Adding a couple of meters here and there, or a couple, at least about 5,000 at Randy, and obviously still working on getting Buketi up and running, plus the property payments that we are going to make to Lawantino. It's going to eat into the war chest. We're still fine.
Oscar, you mentioned earlier that you already have drilled a couple of holes that are still in the lab.
Yeah, we started drilling in the second week of January, and we're now down in hole 27. As Rayiez mentioned earlier, it's a 100-meter step out from the initial holes. So we have received some stuff back, which will be announced shortly, and there's still holes in the lab to be returned also again in the next couple of weeks. News flow should be picking up again.
Gentlemen, really appreciate you making the time today. Very much looking forward to those catalysts that we just outlined earlier, and we'll keep our finger on the pulse.
Thank you, Stijn. Bye-bye.